Welcome to Internally Guided Life, a podcast to help you unlock a life of balance, fulfillment, and joy. I'm Kayla Sweet, and together we're going to have fun and create change from the inside out. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back, my friends. Today we are talking about a topic that I am incredibly excited to explore because this is something that every single person is going to have to navigate at some point on their journey. There's nobody's life that this topic doesn't touch, and this is the topic of forgiveness. And we are not going to just be on the surface with forgiveness today. We're not going to just talk about forgive and forget and let go and all the simplifications that we hear around this idea. We're going to get deep. We're going to go into the transformative power of this and the way that it really liberates us. So I am very excited to have this conversation, and we have a perfect guest joining us to do this today. And her name is Katharine Giovanni. Katharine is a 3-time award-winning best-selling author, a speaker, and a forgiveness and transformation coach. She has authored 12 books, including her most recent, which is titled The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness: Unlocking Your Power. And she brings humor and heart to her work, which is something that's so important with such a serious topic. But beyond all of the amazing things she's done in the world, she's also lived this journey herself, and her story is absolutely remarkable, from surviving stage 3 breast cancer to overcoming hardships of her childhood. She has walked this path, and she speaks from that experience of the life-changing power of forgiveness. So while I don't know where this conversation will take us, I'm excited to see. And I know that if you are someone who's ever struggled with this idea, how to actually forgive, or if you've struggled to let go of something that's heavy on your heart, this is going to be the episode you want to listen to. So with that, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Kayla. I appreciate it.
I am really excited to dig in. But before I do, I always like to just start off with the personal. So it's always nice to hear the, kind of bio introduction, but I would love to hear from you a little bit about yourself, your personal story.
Well, the fact that I call myself a forgiveness coach, and I might be one of the few that do, implies that the universe has given me an overabundance of things to forgive. Right? So my journey probably started, and I have the business background, been teaching people how to customer service and business and, teaching them how to start a concierge business, blah, 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 blah. But the whole thing probably started in the 8th grade when my parents were very pickled. They were raging alcoholics, both passed now, but they were raging alcoholics. I was terribly bullied in school because I was different. And as a result of all of this stress, I tried to commit suicide in the 8th grade, and I turned into one of those kids. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. And I kind of just floated through life, to be honest, with no real direction, doing what people told me to do. And then my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she dried out, and we sent her to rehab. And we spent the next 3 years practically finishing each other's sentences. We were closer than close. And we did everything together. We lived together. We forgave each other. And then she died of breast cancer 3 years later. And I'm blessed that I had the 3 years with her. And I got breast cancer myself in 2011. But, the thing about something like that is everybody's life, 10 out of 10 of us, we all have what I call flashpoints. And you don't know it's a flashpoint when you're going through it, but when you look back, hindsight is 20/20, isn't it? And this was one of mine. It was one of those life-changing moments that completely took me in a different direction. And I knew that if I didn't do something, I was going to die too. Knew it. So the only New Year's resolution I actually ever kept was to quit drinking. I quit drinking, been sober now for 35 years. And that kind of took me in a completely different direction. And one of the things that those AA and all these other things teach you to do is you have to make amends. But remember, I'm as old as dirt, man. And this was years ago. We didn't have computers, didn't we? And if I had had texting, Kayla, it would have been brilliant. I would have easily texted these people because I was shy, really shy. Now I'm an extroverted introvert now, but back then I had two choices. I could call them up on the phone and risk getting yelled at, which is really, really why I didn't want to do it. And then I could see them in person and risk getting yelled at, which was double don't want to do it. I had no interest in doing either. So I didn't do it. And I apologized to everybody and I did my forgiveness work in my apartment all by myself. And I accidentally stepped right into part of the step-by-step process that I actually use today. And it's a step-by-step process. Now, the thing with forgiveness is everybody tells you have to forgive your teachers, your parents, your pastor. Okay, how? How? Nobody teaches you how. And then what if you don't want to? What if it's an unforgivable act? Then what do you do? My system and I teach the how.
Wow. I and this is it's so needed. Like you said, we just don't have tools, we don't have resources. And even
No.
those that stumble upon it, it's like a hard path to get there to actually forgive, not just the surface level. I
Well,
forgive,
this is why,
right?
I used to teach forgiveness in customer service workshops because I can teach you how to be a concierge. That's where my training is. I retired in 2020, but I can teach you the words and how to look and what to say and all these things. But if you're angry, it's going to bleed through your body language whether you wanted to or not. So I had to come up with a way to get people to forgive on the spot without being able to leave their desk. And that's when forgiveness came in. But here's the problem with forgiveness, and this is what's tripping up everybody with just listening to this broadcast and just seeing the word forgiveness. On a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, I don't want to, it was horrific trauma, and one being the easiest person in the world, every single solitary person watching and listening is thinking of their number 10 person. The person or event or trauma that completely knocked the wind out of your sails and smacked you down to the ground. Totally fair. So my system is going to start you on the other end. I want you to start with the easy ones, and we're going to work our way up to the dumpster fire. And you don't even have to forgive the unforgivable. I'm the only one that'll ever say that to you. Why? Because there's so many people, places, and things. I did say places and things. Don't click off. Stay with me. That you can forgive before you even get to that number 10.
So you've mentioned your system a couple times. I think we might as well just dig right in to what this looks like and we can kind of like sprinkle throughout. But
Sure.
what does your system look like? How does one start this process of forgiveness and move through to the other side?
Well, first of all, there's a couple of sayings that people bandy around that are just plain wrong. First of all, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't. And I probably have boundaries in place because I really don't want to talk to you, right? And even if they're passed away, I probably don't even want your picture in my house. And here's the one that trips up 10 out of 10 people. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm giving in all of a sudden. It doesn't mean I'm saying you were right and I was wrong. It doesn't mean I'm coming over to the dark side, as it were. I think this stems from our childhood, Kayla, when, so you're in the kindergarten or something, and some kid comes over and punches you in the eye, and the teacher comes up and says, now forgive each other and go off and play together. And you're thinking, I don't want to, I don't want it. They punched me in the eye. Why should I be the one to forgive? But they make you, don't you? And I think we all connected some unseen dots that should never have been connected. So just because I forgive you doesn't mean you were right. Forgiveness for me, the formal definition is I want you out of my head. That's it. I want you out of my head. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop dreaming about you. I want to stop the triggers. When I'm going around the world, when I'm going outside and driving to work and I see a color or a smell or a building, I want those triggers to go away so I can leave my life without you. Because the person you're mad at isn't even thinking about you at all. And this doesn't really trip men up, but boy, does it trip the women up, especially with our exes. You want them to be as miserable as you, don't you? You're sitting in your apartment eating a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and I swear to you, it should say serving size one on those little containers. It shouldn't say six,
You're right.
right?
Very
And
deceiving.
you're sitting there eating a pint or half a pint, crying, and they're not thinking about you at all. They're going about their life. So forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you. You don't do it for them. And you don't have to reach out and call anybody. Nobody has to know you're doing this. So that being said, you can forgive dead people because where they are not doesn't matter a lick, does it? Because they're alive and well in your head. And if your parents or somebody passed away and you didn't get closure, well, my system is going to allow you to now finally get closure so you can move on from it. There's another saying that people bandy around without thinking, forgive and forget. Um, I'm originally from New York City. I lived there for 30 years, and I can promise you with 100% certainty, not one New Yorker is ever going to forget. It's not in our DNA. We don't do that. So, what I can promise you is it will remove the emotional charge. So, when you see their name or you run into them at Christmas at the family party, you won't care. You won't care good, you won't care bad, you just won't care. That's freedom. That's what I'm going for. I'm going for neutrality. So
Yeah.
the system is pretty darn easy. And there's worksheets and stuff in the back of the book to help people out, of course. But I want you to sit down in a room all by yourself. And here's the hardest part of the system. I kind of want you to turn your cell phone off. There's a off button on your phone. And if you're twitching, I had a client years ago who was literally twitched. She slept with it on. I mean, it was always right here. And so if you're twitching, then I would love you to mute it. Don't vibrate because it's going to dance on your desk and you're going to get distracted. I want you to remove the distractions. No humans in the room with you, little or big. You can have the dog, and the cat, but humans, I want you alone. Then I want you to get a piece of paper and a pen. Yeah, it's not because I'm an ancient person. There's a method behind my madness. Years ago, in Harvard University, there was a study done. They followed these kids through the years. Half the class was taught to say your goals out loud to the room, and the other half of the class was told to write them down on a piece of paper. The kids who wrote their goals down on a piece of paper turned out more successful later in life than the kids who didn't. So there's magic that happens when it goes into your head and you write it down on a piece of paper. Now, if you're visibly twitching and saying, hell no, I won't do that, do it on your phone. That's fine. At the end of the day, it's all good. So I want you to write a list of all the people you're angry do you think that you're angry at, that you think you need to do forgiveness work on, right? And I want the first three names are going to be the unforgivable ones. And that's fair. Write them down. But keep going and don't judge the people that you're writing down. If you write the name Billy down on the list and you don't remember a Billy, don't judge it. Keep it there because some part of your brain is probably still angry at whoever that was. And I want you to think of stuff from the time you were in kindergarten and grammar school to present day. Again, don't judge what you write down. Just write it down. And then I want you to go through the list and rate them from 1 to 10. 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, and 10 being unforgivable and awful and really hard. And then I want you to start with the number ones. Again, alone in a room. Nobody's there with you. So I want you to sit in the middle of your bed, sit under a tree. I don't care where you are. And when it comes to your list, you could have 20 number sevens. I really don't care. You could skip a number. I also don't care. But what I care about with every fiber of my being is that you start with the easy one. Easy ones, for example, would be somebody who took your parking space at the grocery store yesterday and you had your damn blinker on. You could forgive that person. They were late. The person who cut you off on I-95 South. Come on, you can forgive these people, right? The person who stole your sweater in high school. Okay, you're an adult now. You can forgive that person. Easy, easy people that is just going to cause, boom, I absolutely can do it. And I want you to take one of those easy people. And it's probably going to be somebody from your childhood because, enough time has gone by. Super easy. And so I want you to imagine that they're standing in front of you. And I don't want you to imagine their adult self in front of you. I want the kid. If you're trying to forgive somebody from grammar school, remember the kid in front of you. Can you imagine, Kayla, in your mind, can you see your childhood bedroom in your head right now?
Yeah.
You see the color of the walls.
Hmm.
Okay, that's clairvoyance. It doesn't mean it's a Stephen King novel and you're going to see a ghost walk through the door any minute now. That's not what it means. I wrote a book on intuition because of course I did. But people will use their intuition. They'll see it, feel it, know it, or just sense it. So if you can see things in your mind's eye, that's clairvoyance. That's how you see the world. That's how you get your answers. That's how your intuition talks to you. I do that too, but I also hear it. So when you're talking to the person, if you can't imagine and see them in your mind's eye, put a chair in front of you. And you can even put their name on the chair. Talk to the chair. If you actually can't see it in your mind, because not everybody can. And then let them have it. You're alone. You could cry, you could dance, you could scream, you can say everything you've always wanted to say, or you can say nothing if it's a level one person. Do whatever you want. And when you're done and you've got whatever you needed to get out of your system, put your hand in your heart because it's really just to remind us humans the energy behind the words is the secret sauce. And the mantra is very, very simple. I completely forgive Kayla. I forgive the energy around Kayla. I forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire thing. And so be it. Amen. Go with God. End it any way you like. And then imagine that they leave the room. Cross their name off, go to the next person. Now, check in with your body after you do that. Was it a level one person? And is that person, did you feel like but they've been forgiven? Yes? Fabulous. Cross their name off the list. Were you doing a level five person and you're still kind of mad? Well, forgiveness is like an onion. You probably forgave the first layer. So put a four next to them, wait 24 hours, do it again. This happened to a friend of mine. Was it a level four person? You did the mantra and now it's a 10. I could see it in her eyes. We were in a private session and she just started to get angry. You could see her body language. Well, why is she getting more angry? We're going the wrong way. It's like a salmon swimming the wrong way up a stream. Your brain is the most incredible tool and it protects you. And there's a closet in the back of your head with a padlock on it. And in that closet is a movie that's been playing over. You would have shut it off. You knew it was there. You don't know it's there, but it's affecting your life. It's affecting all sorts of parts of your life. And what you did was use the magic word. And your brain is like, ooh, Kayla said the magic words. I'm going to open up that closet and flood her brain with memories.
Mm.
Okay, it is what it is. I didn't say this was going to be easy, did I? So you just cross the five up, put a nine, go to the next, wait 24 hours, try it again. That's the meat and potatoes of it. But the reason people aren't staying forgiven, because I get all these people that say, Catherine, I have forgiven them. Yeah, you have. You did the work. But you didn't forgive the energy. That's why you're still getting triggered. Einstein proved without a doubt that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing to another. So when anger leaves your mouth, you think it dissipates into the universe. You probably don't even think about it at all. It doesn't. It hangs in your energy field until you clear it. And everything, science has proved that everything on our planet has energy around it, including this little microphone. So the reason you're still getting stuck is because you didn't forgive the energy.
So when people go through this process, they've got their list. They start with the
Mhm.
easiest person. They forgive them. They forgive the energy. I love that you also have that you forgive yourself within that because
Yep.
a lot of times, no matter what the situation, like there's a part of you that's mad at you for whatever your role was within it, and we hang on to that too. They go through this, and then you just kind of work your way through in your own time, each person on the list, and circle back as needed. Is that
Yep, that's
okay?
exactly it. And when I
Yeah.
forgive myself, and this is the first book of three, and the second book is going to be a deep dive into how to forgive yourself. Hello. Deep dive into how to forgive the unforgivable, which I'm going to teach you right now, and how to forgive money. Hello,
Mm.
money is just energy. But when I'm forgiving myself, I will often add the words, I completely forgive myself for anything I may or may not have done. I often will add that depending upon who it is I'm forgiving. Because quite often I think, well, I didn't do anything. but I may not have said something, or maybe it's what I didn't say that might have sparked it. So I usually cover my bases by adding that.
I love that, especially because I mean, I've had to do some, I didn't have a system to work through that probably would have really helped, but I've had to do some forgiveness work in my own life and I think about the situations where maybe I had to forgive the other person, but it was even harder because I felt like I had allowed certain things to go on for too long.
Right.
So I was really mad at the past version of myself who had dealt with certain things and that was really, really hard.
Well, let me help you out with that. Forgiving yourself, it's my answer on how do I forgive myself is pretty similar to how you forgive the unforgivable. And quite honestly, you might be the unforgivable. That might be you might have done something really that you think is really bad. So let's use the bullies in school as an example. Sometimes I use my father. Sorry, Dad, but it was what it was. But let's take the bullies at school. Let's say you're driving to work and you get to a red light. You usually turn left. Today you turned right. 70-degree day, gorgeous, blue sky, had a nice morning, no problems. But turning right takes you by your old high school and you were bullied there. And you were in a good mood when you got into the car. And by the time you get to work, you're grumpy. You're cutting everybody's heads off. Why? And people are even saying, what happened? And you're saying, well, this is the point. Nothing happened. I don't know why I'm so grumpy. I do. That closet in the back of your mind you didn't know was there, the movie started and it started to play. And your brain unconsciously saw the high school and remembered the bullies. And that's why you're upset. It was a trigger. So what do you do? So when I did it, I wasn't ready to forgive the bully because I wasn't. And I wasn't even ready to forgive the energy around the bully. Didn't want to do that either. So I picked apart the memory. I forgave, and I'm serious. I forgave my childhood grammar school building. I forgave the building, the energy around the building. I forgave the classroom, the energy around the classroom. I forgave the chair that I sat in. I forgave the playground. I forgave the grass under the playground. Not kidding. I forgave the kids who stood around and didn't help and the energy around these kids. I forgave New York City, the energy around New York City. I forgave 1974. I did. I said I completely forgive 1974 and I forgive the energy around 1974. Why? Because it was a horror. I'm don't mind my cussing. I apologize, but it was a shit year. There's no other way to say it. And that's the year that I tried to commit suicide, and it was still kind of triggering to me. So, have you noticed? I still haven't forgiven the bully, haven't even forgiven the energy around the bully. I'm picking apart the memory. So after I pick apart the memory, I'm going to go in and ask myself, am I ready to make my first pass at the bully and the energy around the bully? No, pick apart another memory and do it again. So eventually I was able to just forgive the energy around the bully. Okay, well now we're making some progress. And I was able to get that number 10 down to a 9 by just picking apart the memory because I started to feel better. And by the time I got to the 9, then I was ready to make the first pass around the bully. Didn't really mean it because I didn't. Was kind of just paying lip service, but I did it and I was able to make that first pass. And it took me weeks to get them down to a forgivable level. And if I'm really going to be honest, it took months for my father. And he was a number 10. I mean, it took months, but I was eventually able to turn that around. Now, people do say forgive and forget. And you're not going to forget what happened in the past, but your perspective will change because I can look into the past. I can look at my childhood and I could regurgitate those horrible memories if you wanted me to use the word purposely. But now I remember the pockets of love. I remember the adults that were trying to help that kid. I remember the friends that I had who were kind of circling the wagons. I remember the love and the laughter. That's what I remember now. I don't remember the bad stuff so much anymore.
Mm.
And that's why I'm telling you, forgiving yourself, my answer is the same. I want you to sit down instead of writing a list of people that you need to do forgiveness work, you want to write a list of events you need to forgive yourself for, or people that you want them to forgive you. And then you rate them from 1 to 10. You start with the ones and you work your way up. So my answer is the same. But it's forgiving the people, places, and things. And if you can't forgive the people, forgive the place, forgive the city, forgive the building, forgive the bed, the table, the chair, the park, forgive yourself from getting into the car. Forgive yourself for saying yes. Forgive yourself for inviting in the narcissist. There's so many things we can forgive. You can forgive politicians, dare I say, not going there. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's it going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing, but it's going to do brilliant things for your mind. It's going to free you up. Now, why do you want to do that? Because you're paying so much attention to your anger. It's acting like a shield and preventing you from living your authentic life. It's preventing you from tapping into your intuition so you know which way to go. You're missing opportunities, money making opportunities. You're missing people. You're missing your dream relationship because this purple coffee cup that I'm holding in front of me is anger. Look at my body language. If it's all I can focus on, I'm missing all sorts of things. I can't even see you anymore because I'm so focused on the anger. So by starting with the easy ones, now look at my language. I've got the anger off to the side. My life is starting to open up.
I love your approach, your system, because it's almost like the way I'm thinking of it is you're building your forgiveness muscle. Like you're not
Hmm.
expecting yourself to be strong enough to go for the heaviest weight first. You know
That's
you've got
right.
to build some stamina. Yeah.
Like going to the gym. You're not going to
Yeah.
start with the big weights right away. You'll be in the hospital in traction. They don't do traction anymore. Trust me, you'll be in the hospital.
Yeah. So, how did you come to create this system? I know that you've gone through your own personal challenges and you've had to do this forgiveness work. Did this just emerge from you? Did it unfold over time? How did it come to be? How did your life influence this process?
Well, there's I have two partners in crime. There's three of us. And the second and third book is going to be co-authored by one of them, Dr. Katie Nong. And we were on a Zoom together, and this is going to really stretch people's brains to the point where it might bleed a little bit. But I really am very intuitive, and the method was given to us. It just kind of came into our heads, to be honest with you. And then when I searched the internet, I discovered there was really no forgiveness systems out there. Listen, it doesn't, at the end of the day, it probably doesn't matter where it came from, but our world is broken. And this system is going to allow you to get out of the hole that you've dug yourself and get out from behind that wall. For women, what I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, I keep dating the wrong guy. And I don't know why I keep picking these people. I do because you need to forgive them. You need to do some forgiveness work because you're stuck behind a wall. And once you start doing this forgiveness work, your authentic self is going to start to come out. That little bird in your shoulder, your intuition, is finally going to be able to reach you. You're finally going to be able to hear it. So that person you came down to this planet to be, the person, your authentic self, this is the person who's finally going to come out. Now, along with all the Susie Sunshine stuff that's going to happen, I have to play devil's advocate. There are some things that are going to happen to you when you start doing this work. First of all, like energy attracts like energy, doesn't it? So new people will come into your life. Positive people, people that want to support you, as opposed to pulling the rug out from underneath your feet, right? That's going to happen. That's true. But you're also going to have jackrabbits. These are the people that were running with you all along, and they see that you're turning into somebody else, and like, ooh, I don't want to go with her. Not ready. So they're just gonna leave. They're gonna ghost you. You'll never hear from them again. And I had a bunch of them. I still haven't heard from them after all these years. And then you're going to have the saboteurs. They're usually friends, family. Family really messes you up, right? And they like the old you. They're used to the old you. They don't want you to change. So they're probably going to try and sabotage it. So it's up to you. Jim Rohn, a very famous motivational speaker, said you're the sum of the five people you spend the most time with. Who are you spending your time with? And there's some physical things that are going to happen to you too. There's another saying. I love poking holes in sayings. Um, Anger is toxic. Okay, I accept that, but how? How? How is anger magically toxic? Okay, I know the how. Figured it out. There is a study done. You can look this up on Google. Google the Japanese water study. It'll come right up by a guy named Hasumoto something. I can never remember his name. And in the interest of time, I'll just say it really fast. He took several containers of water. One container of water, all he did was speak to it. That's it. Beautiful, loving words. The other container of water, hate. The most hateful words he could think of. He then froze the water and put it under a microscope. And people have replicated this study and they all come up with the same results. The water he spoke love to had these beautiful crystal formations, gorgeous. They're right online. It's fascinating. The water he spoke hate to had these malformations and they look kind of black and brown and sick. Why am I telling you this? The human body is over 95% water. So if your self-talk is bad, if you're constantly looking back at a horrible childhood and you're living in negativity and anger and judgment and resentment, what do you think you're doing to the water molecules in your body? You're literally making yourself sick. So when you do this work, I want you to do it before bed because your body heals itself when it's sleeping, and I don't want you to do more than 10 at a time. And if you're doing somebody that's a high level person, like an 8 or 9 or 10, I only want you to do one of those a night because do as I say, not as I did. I do my own exercises. I am a little bit of an overachiever. Shocker, I know. And I did this exercise. I must have written down like 50 names. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up a new person and it's going to be great. And all that stuff, all that toxic stuff will be gone. All right, well, the universe has a slight sense of humor, and it didn't turn out the way that I wanted to. I did forgive many people on the list. That's true. But I also spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was the stomach flu. It was not. It was energy sickness. A Native American Indian, maybe 20 years ago, told me about it. And it's literally, there was so much negative energy that my body was trying to get rid of that it kind of it's like my computer crashed and I needed to stay in bed so my body could play catch up. It's really what it boiled down to.
Mm.
So don't do more than 10 at a time. You might feel your shoulders getting lighter. Weird, I know. You might feel some energy leave your solar plexus, which is just in the middle of your body. People do. You might be in the bathroom for a little bit. You didn't eat bad fish. Just let your body get rid of it. What you really will feel is coffee will smell better, the world will smell brighter, and you're going to start looking at the world with a different perspective.
Mm. It's so interesting the way that you pull in some of the science and the real impacts on the body. So I'm really glad that
Mhm.
you brought that up because people do feel resentment and anger physically, right? Even if you don't realize
I
that's what
do.
it's like, you carry it with you. It's like this heavy weight that you're dragging along that's slowing
It
you down.
makes you sick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're probably picking up that you probably get the flu all the time. You're getting COVID all the time. Why am I getting it 3 times and other people haven't gotten it once? It's
Yeah.
because your immune system is low. Why is your immune system low? Water cells, people. The water cells.
That study is so fascinating. If you have not checked it out, definitely recommend
It
that.
really is. And scientists really have tried to replicate they've tried to poke holes in it. They've tried to replicate it, and everybody keeps coming up with the exact same results. They did the same thing with plants. I think it was in the United Arab Emirates for Anti-Bullying Day, and they did the same thing. They said nasty things to one and good things to another, and one plant almost died and the other one survived. I have a plant downstairs. We lovingly call him Grandpa, and he is at last count, I think he's 32 years old. I'm
Wow.
going to cry real tears when that plant dies. My 2 sons are grown now, and they think it's really funny.
Oh,
But
I've definitely
he'll
cried over plant deaths, so there's no shame in that.
I will cry when Grandpa, I don't even know how long plants live, but he's over 30 and going strong. So go, Grandpa, go.
That's amazing. I always tell my husband we have to talk nicely to the plants. Like
That's it.
you can't neglect them or be mean to them. They need love. They need attention just like we do. And I think like circling back to the system and how, this really is it's something you do for you, for your own liberation, and that it doesn't require that you open up cans of worms with these people. And something you've mentioned a
No,
couple times is the way that it helps to unveil your intuition
it
when you
does.
get this block removed. So, yeah, tell me a little bit more about how that kind of unfolds.
Well, once your brain is stopped paying attention to all the anger and the resentments and all the things that we probably pay attention to, um, and I joke all the time, if you want to improve your life right now, this second, turn off the news and stay off the bathroom scale. There it is. I've just fixed your life right now. But it's kind of true. And I know it's a joke, but it's kind of true. You've been spending so much time thinking about the negativity and the anger that that little bird on your shoulder that everybody has been trying to reach you, but you're not paying attention. So the more you forgive, the more you're going to be able to feel your intuition. And everybody on the planet is intuitive. I happen to have been born with the volume turned all the way up, but everybody has this talent. You see it, feel it, know it, or you just sense it. Here's a real story that some people can probably relate to. I am a cancer survivor, breast cancer, stage 3, triple positive. Came down with it in 2012. In 2011, the little bird, I'm clairaudient. So all of a sudden I hear in my head, you need to jog. I'm about as stubborn as they come. And I said, no. I'm allergic to exercise, I proudly said, but I couldn't get it out of my head. The bird wouldn't shut up. You need to jog. You need to jog. I couldn't, the only way to get it to shut up was to start running. So I started the Couch to 5K running program, which actually is brilliant. It's right online and it does exactly what you think it does. And I eventually kind of half walked, half ran a 5K. And as I was doing this over the months, it took me about a year to get there, the weight started coming off. I went from a 14 down to an 8, and I knew the weight was coming off too fast. I just knew it. And the day before my birthday, in a self-exam, I found a lump. And it turned out to be stage 3 triple positive breast cancer. And the surgeon said, if I hadn't taken up running, I would have never found it because it was in such a strange spot and there was so much fat around it. Even they would have never found it because my breasts were so dense. So mammograms didn't work on me. I'd be dead. There was another time I was walking my dog Maggie, who's since passed. This was a bunch of years ago. And we were walking across the circle, and all of a sudden I hear she's not going to stop. About as loud as I've ever heard anything. So because I've learned to listen to the little bird on my shoulder, I stopped on a dime, pulled Maggie back. Sure enough, somebody ran the red, would have killed both of us on impact.
Mm.
These are very extraordinary stories that actually happened. It saved my life 3 times, not that I'm counting particularly, but everybody has this stuff in their purview. How about the times that you're going to hire somebody, right? They're dressed right, their references are great, their resume was great, they answered the questions great. Something just feels off. But you talk yourself out of it because they look like the perfect candidate. So you hire this person. And 6 months down the line, everything blows up and you say to yourself the magic words. I knew I shouldn't have done that. Every single person on the planet has said to themselves, I knew I shouldn't have done that. I
Mm.
knew I should have gotten somebody to take a second look. I should have gone to another doctor. We do this. So your intuition is clearly here to help you navigate through the wild, wild ride of life. And if you're angry, that little bird, if it wants to get through, it will get through to you. But it's going to be 100% clearer and easier if you give it a little help and you start to remove the anger.
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me because the anger and the resentment is such a charged feeling that it's
It is.
distracting, right?
And it's almost like you're walking around. I know there's another joke that says, well, she's a little dark thundercloud today. Stay away from her. But to be honest, that's exactly what you are. You can't see the energy field around you, but it's dark because energy is neither created nor destroyed. So you've taken very light, happy energy and you've turned it dark. So you're literally walking around in a cloud and you're missing things. You're not paying attention. And the little bird is trying to get through to you and it's screaming at the top of its lungs, but it's hard. It's very hard. And your life will take on a new meaning, a new trajectory as soon as you start to do the forgiveness work, because you're going to let your brain pay attention to something else for a change. And it will. Nature abhors a vacuum. So when you come up to a field and it's empty, what's nature going to do? It's going to fill it. So once you get rid of all the crap inside of your brain, what's nature going to do? It's going to fill it. but it's going to fill it with good stuff as opposed to the bad stuff. And the good stuff is what you want.
Yeah, it creates
That's
some
how you make more
space.
money and you get that relationship and you find that dream house, dream boat, dream job, whatever your dream is. That's how you get there. You want the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting because I've definitely experienced this in my life, obviously without the support of the system, which again would have been very useful at certain periods of my life. But I think I mentioned this on our previous conversation. I'm going to say it again, but so my father passed by suicide when I was really
Oh,
little.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I was very little, and I really have forgiven him for that. But I carried a lot of anger towards him for most of my life up until I don't know, probably around 27 was when I was finally able to kind of break through that and see him as something else other than the person who, chose to abandon our family. That was how I looked at it for a long
Right.
time. And I think about how even though it wasn't on my mind every day, all the time, whenever I thought of him, it was that layer of frustration, that layer of anger, that layer of hurt. And once I was able to move through that and really forgive him for that act that took him from our lives and for not continuing, to try, like
Yeah.
I was able to see the pain and that he really felt, that was the only solution. But after that, on the other side, I feel a different feeling when I come across photos or when my mom mentions their anniversary date or my husband and my dad actually share a birthday. And so now I think about that. I kind of celebrate my dad's birthday when I celebrate my husband's birthday. And it almost flipped it entirely to where it was an uncomfortable, kind of frustrating, kind of blocking feeling to it's more heart opening
Expensive.
or yes, expansive, celebratory, loving, like there's a warmth where there
Yep.
was darkness. Yeah.
Carrying anger and the anger towards your father is like putting a cactus on half of the chair you sit on, and every once in a while your skin touches it and gives you a little zing. It's that kind of thing. And it was hard for me to forgive my father too. And once you finally do forgive your parents and you forgive these people, it really does open your mind up. Love is extremely expansive, and hate and negativity is the complete opposite. So when you finally replace it for love, not only do you forgive them, but you start to look at them differently. You look at their life, you look at their choices differently, you look at the past differently because love is expansive and is inviting. And when you step through that door, everything changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the power of it too for those folks that maybe are in your life that are still alive, family members especially, right? Like sometimes we need maybe to still have good boundaries and maybe still to have limited interactions with them. But if they're family, chances are there are going to be times where they're in your life where your paths cross.
Sure.
And if you can see them as like the whole person they are, rather than all the stories and all the anger and resentments around your relationship with them and whatever happened there, it allows you to navigate that with so much more ease.
Let me give an example that might help people out that I use occasionally. We're going to call her Aunt Martha. And the only reason I use the name Martha is because I don't have an Aunt Martha. Safe name to use. If you have an Aunt Martha and you love her, I apologize. Just substitute another name. So Aunt Martha is an alcoholic. And every Christmas, you go to your family's house. And for some real, honest to God, crazy reason, you always end up sitting next to her or near her. And you've begged your family not to put her next to Aunt Martha, but they do. And she's an alcoholic, so she doesn't always bathe, so she kind of smells. And she loves to push people's buttons. The more she drinks, the nastier she gets. And she knows what buttons to push. And it brings her such joy to see other people get upset. My mother used to say every family's the same, only the names are different. So I think most families have their own version of Aunt Martha. So what do you do? Because it takes you at least a week to recover every time you go to a family event. So a couple months before the event, I want you to pick a memory. Pick a random Thanksgiving or Christmas, and I want you to pick it apart. And I know you're not able to forgive Aunt Martha. You probably can't forgive the energy. You probably can't even forgive the chair she sits on. So be it. I want you to forgive the table you all sat at, the energy around the table. I want you to forgive the house that you were in, the energy around the house. Forgive the living room. Forgive the food on the table. I'm not kidding. The energy around the food. Forgive the other people at the table who just wanted to watch the show for entertainment value and the energy around these people. Now check in. Are you able to forgive the energy around Aunt Martha yet? No? Okay, pick another holiday, because I'm sure you have more than one with this woman, and do it again. And what you're going to find is eventually, even if you can't forgive Aunt Martha herself in time before your next family function, you're probably going to be able to forgive enough of those memories and enough of the energy around Aunt Martha that that number 10 is going to probably be down near a 5 or a 6. So what's going to happen when you run into the woman at the next party? You're not going to care. And she's going to try and push those buttons, and she's going to say the same thing she does all the time, and usually it sends you to the ceiling and people have to unglue you for a week. It's not going to work this time. In fact, you'll probably smile and you'll probably have some witty comebacks. And it's going to real and here's the entertaining part for you. It's going to piss her off. And the more you don't buy into it, the angrier she's going to get. And that's just entertaining because it just is, right? So, and here's somebody who's been sober for 35 years. Turn it into a drinking game if you want. And the more times she tries to do it, you just take a shot. There you go. You'll be loaded by the time it ends. You won't feel anything. But this is just my way of saying it's not going to matter. The emotional charge is going to be gone. And then eventually, will you be able to completely forgive her and get her down to a 1? Yeah. Forgiveness is like an onion, and there's a lot of layers to it, but eventually you get to that sweet spot, and eventually you'll be able to forgive her. And forgive your family for always sitting you next to Aunt Martha. That might go on your list someplace since you always seem to be next to her. But once she can't get to you, it won't matter. It won't matter. And you'll be able to go to those family functions without any problem because you won't care.
Yeah, it's so interesting because that person doesn't have to change for this to work.
And
It's
they won't.
your charge, your internal experience of being around them that is really the most impacted.
You're the one who's going to change. She's not going to change. She'll probably go to her grave being an alcoholic curmudgeon. Sure, she will. But you're going to change. Your perspective is going to change. And that's what everybody's going to notice. And they're going to come up to you and say, it's been a year, but have you gotten a new hairstyle? Have you lost some weight? There's something about you that's just different. Well, of course it is. Your energy is lightened up. Your energy field is different.
Yeah, you don't have
And they're
that
going to
anger
notice. And
holding you down.
you can either tell them what you did or keep it to yourself. Completely fine. If you don't want to tell anybody, this is your party. Forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you. You don't have to tell a living soul what you've done. And then you're going to have the family members. It's usually siblings and, friends. Well, I don't know why you can't forgive, Aunt Martha. I have a perfect relationship with her. I think you're crazy and you're not remembering it right anyways. All those things you say that happened in our childhood never really happened. Okay. I don't care about those people. I don't care about the people who are telling you that. If you think it happened, it's real, it's in your mind. I care about you. If it's in your mind, it can be forgiven. So pay no attention to the people who aren't believing you. If it's in your energy field, you can forgive it. I care about you. I don't care about that. And I mean that with all the respect in my heart. That
Okay,
didn't come out
well,
as well as I wanted it to.
no, I think I get what you were getting at because we have a responsibility to ourselves to care
Right.
for ourselves and to do the things that we need to do regardless of what anybody thinks about it. It's our reality, it's our truth.
Exactly. And if it's your truth, it can be forgiven. I had a gentleman come up to me once. This was a while ago. And he said, I don't buy it. Okay, let's play. Bring it. I don't mind a little challenge. He says, I just don't buy it. I said, okay, what part don't you buy? And he said, thank God I'm a concierge and customer service trainer because I was able to mask my body language a little bit. Thank you, God. And he said, I've made a lot of money. And in my head, silently, I thought, okay. And I have a lot of houses. And in my head, I'm going, okay, get to the point. Where are we going with this? And I have a lot of success and a lot of money. And my anger has been the gasoline that fueled the engine that got me here. I built it on my bed of pain. Okay, I'll play. Let's talk about that. Sure, you can get there on pain. Sure, you can. It's like there's two trains. You have a choice of one of the two of them. You can take the local train that will stop at every single stop, or you could take the express. And the local train is like going into an elevator in a hotel. You're going up to the 72nd floor. And some punk kid, as he's leaving the elevator, pressed every button between 2 and 72. We've all had this happen to us, right? And you stop at every single floor. And by the time you get to you're like a version of yourself. You're grumpy, and you're probably bloodied. You're another version of yourself, aren't you? Wouldn't you rather take the express? I've been on that local train. It's horrible. And you get bloodied and you're down on your knees and it's a horrible experience. Wouldn't you rather hop off and take the express? Love and forgiveness and joy will get you there twice as fast as that little anger engine will. You can still get there on that engine. Sure, you can, but it's going to be painful and it isn't going to be pretty.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that because man, the experience of getting there the hard way through the anger, like you might get there, but are you enjoying your life at all by that point if you're just
Probably
using
not.
your anger as fuel? And I've heard that too, where it's like, well, I don't want to let go of the anger or I don't want to let go of the negative self-talk because that's what
Because that's
keeps
who I
me
am.
going. Yeah. That's what
And if
motivates
I let
me.
go of who I am, who will I be? That's a very scary spot. I don't know. I wore that cape for years. I was a survivor of suicide. I was a survivor of alcoholism. I was a survivor of cancer. And if I give up, I had money troubles. I mean, I've been through all of it. And if I give that up, if I give up my story, well, who am I going to be? That's scary. Fear of the unknown freaks people out. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. If I go over to the express train, I don't know what's going to happen. I may not even have any friends. I might not make any money, but at least this pain, I'm used to it. But what you don't realize is that that other train really will get you there faster because it's going to free you up and you're going to be able to notice things. And that little bird on your shoulder is always there. It's never leaving you. So you're finally going to be able to tap into it. So where you feel alone now, you won't feel alone in the future.
Yeah. I think about the way too that, I mean, you mentioned feeling alone, the way that once you start to forgive people, it opens up the space for genuine connection where you're not like
Mhm.
anticipating that everyone's going to screw you over or
That's right.
you're holding all this anger from the past things that have happened and projecting that onto everyone that comes into your circle and keeping you isolated and keeping you lonely. Like when you're able to do that forgiveness work, you also create an opportunity to surround yourself with people who maybe are healthier, who really do
That's
care.
right.
Yeah.
Don't let what you've learned in the past and the hurts you've had in the past prevent you from a beautiful future. Just because it was, and this is it, that's the thing, it's all in the past. Every morning you wake up and you're given another 24 hours. I know that sounds trite, but it's true. What I did in the past, as of yesterday, all the way back, that's it. It's yesterday. I can change. Your body changes every 7 years. I think every cell in your body. I'm not into science particularly, but somebody said that to me
I
once, and
think
I
I've
thought it was
heard
really
that too.
interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was really fascinating. So, if my body's cells could change every 7 years, it could change. And, next time it changes, if it could dial back my love of ice cream, that would be really helpful. But, if it changes every 7 years, well, you can change in the morning and just wake up and just decide to take another route. Just decide. I don't want to be like this anymore. I'm making another choice. It seems very simple, and it is. Just make a different choice. Just start forgiving the easy ones. You don't have to work on the hard ones. It's like I'm going to start going to the gym. Okay, you don't want to go to the gym? Start walking around the block. It's the same kind of attitude, it's the same idea. Just start small and work your way up.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like the language you used earlier around flashpoints, I feel like that is when people usually decide to start to do this work. Like you hit
You
a
do.
point, you have this pivotal moment where you
Yep.
realize you don't want to continue to repeat it. You don't want to be living this way. And something allows you to make that shift. But we can also create our own flashpoints. Like we don't have to wait to hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
We can
Make
wake
tomorrow
up.
a flashpoint. The
Yeah.
Buddha said, here's a quote that really will reach out and grab you by the throat. Buddha said, hatred and bitterness and anger is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. I mean, think about that one. And that's true. You're the one who's holding yourself back, not them.
Yeah.
But tomorrow could be everybody's flashpoint. Tomorrow could be the day that changed your life. Actually, why wait till tomorrow? Make this podcast. You're watching it right now. Today is the day that changed the rest of your life. Why wait?
Yeah. This is the flashpoint. It could be
This is
right
your
now.
flashpoint. There's no reason, we're meant to have help. We're meant to listen to our intuition. We're not meant to live in a refrigerator box on the street. Being poor is not pious. Being poor is not fun. Been there, done that, wasn't fun. You know, and being rich isn't bad. Everybody says, well, rich people are bad, but I want to win the lottery. You're canceling out the thought, people. You can't say all rich people are bad, but I'm going to win the lottery because your brain is going, what? There's a disconnect here. So
Uh-huh.
if you want to be rich, that's fine. Start with forgiving yourself so you can be rich in people and rich in thoughts. So the little birdie in your shoulder can show you where that yellow brick road is that will take you wherever you want to go, whatever prosperity means to you.
Mm.
Don't focus on, and by the way, not all rich people are bad. The media would love you to believe that, but they're not.
I,
Some of them
I'm
are,
I'm
not
so
all.
curious about your book on forgiving money, but we probably don't have time to get too far into that today.
Money is simply energy, is it not? Money is energy. In fact, that chapter is being written by my partner, Katie, but money is merely energy. And if you could wrap yourself around the fact that money is energy, and then you can get your list, and I wouldn't do this list first, by all means. Do the other list first. Forgiving people in your childhood. But sometime in the next few weeks, you could do a money list and write down experiences you've had with money where you didn't have it and when you did have it or when you wanted it, and write down all of those memories and then rate them from 1 to 10 and start to forgive them, starting with the easy one and working your way up.
Oh,
Just write down the memories. Instead of people, you're writing down the memories. And here's the thing that will really play with your head. I did forgive my father. I really did. And I got my dad from a 10 down to a 1. And then I was starting to write the next book, which is How to Forgive Yourself. And I was trying to wrap my brain around it. And I was thinking, okay, what is the number one thing that I probably want to forgive myself for? And when I was so mad at my father, I didn't have him walk me down the aisle. I had my brother do it.
mm,
And I've always felt guilty about that because I think at the end of the day, he was sober at that point. I just think it was mean. And it's not really who I am. At least it's not who I am anymore. And I thought, I got to forgive myself for this. And then it hit me. I forgave dad for the stuff that he did, and I took him all the way down to a 1. Now I had to respond in kind and forgive myself for all the stuff and things I said to him.
mm.
That'll mess with your head. So I actually took it the other way. It's like a spiral. I went down the spiral and then I had to go back up the other way. So now our relationship is completely clean and completely honest and completely good. No, he's passed away, but now the memory is just completely clear. But I had to take it the other way.
That makes so much sense too, because once you're able to forgive that other person, you probably played a part in that scenario
Yeah.
or did things you weren't proud of or said things that, maybe were hurtful or whatever. We all have the ways that we react when we're triggered, when we're in anger, when we're in resentment. So to do
And
that work
people
for
say, well, I
yourself.
didn't mean that. It wasn't really who I am. Well, no, but it still came out of your mouth, didn't it? And it hurt the other person. And once something's out of your mouth, you can't take it back. You can try. I mean, once trust is gone, it's really hard to get back. And the fact that he had passed away, there was no closure for me. I couldn't go up to him and say, Dad, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So this is a way to get closure for something that has been bothering me I've been married for 33 years. It's been bothering me for 33 years, but it's gone now. It doesn't bother me anymore. And that's just a mild one. I know that people out there have some horrible, inexcusable things they've done. Don't start with that. Pick apart the memory or pick apart, other things that you said in the kitchen when you were a teenager. Teenagers are mean, right?
Yep.
Stuff like that. Or things you said about another girl or another guy in high school. They're actually really nice people and you were mean to them. Maybe you were the bully. Hello. These are things you can forgive yourself for. So that list is probably going to, it may not be as meaty as the list, that original list of people you need to forgive, but it's still a really valuable way to forgive yourself for things that you've done. Pick apart the memory. And if you've got that dark memory and it's traumatic and it's something that's really dark and you don't want to tell anybody about it, that's fine. Forgive yourself for as much of the memory as you can and keep going. Forgive what you can and keep going. And if you can never forgive the unforgivable, that's fine. Forgive the energy, forgive the other parts of the memory, and that's going to be just enough to get it out, to get it back to a closet in your head, and you'll be able to breathe and live again.
Mm,
And that's what we're going for, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, there's so many layers to peel back with this. This has been such a beautiful conversation. As we wrap up, is there anything that you were hoping that you would get to that you didn't, or anything that you just want listeners to know if they're thinking about starting this forgiveness journey?
You are worthy enough to make this journey. You're worthy enough to live a life of love. You're worthy enough to have money and live in a decent house and have great clothes and have a relationship and a really good career. You're worthy enough to be happy. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. This is your birthright. It's just a matter of you just reaching out and grabbing it. But you are worthy. If anybody tells you differently, I want you to just ignore it.
Yeah. Ugh, what a beautiful note to end on. You are worthy. I think that's such an important thing to claim, especially doing this work, to know that
Yeah.
you deserve the peace that's going to be on the other side.
Doesn't matter what you did. You deserve the peace and you are worthy.
Yeah. Ugh, so beautiful. This has been such an empowering conversation. I cannot wait to get it out there. Where can people find you? Where can they connect with you if they want to learn more about what you do? Because I know we just scratched the surface today.
All my books can be found on Amazon. And for the last two books, The Little Bird in Your Shoulder and my forgiveness book, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, is I have the audiobook available as well as the paperback and the ebook because I know not everybody wants to read. And if you want a private session, you want to see where I'm going to be, KatharineGiovanni.com. And thanks to my mother, Catherine is spelled odd. Thanks, Mom. Katharine Giovanni.com. It's just got that little A in there.
Perfect. And I will put that in the show notes so that it's easy for people to find that link. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for this time and for all of your insights and wisdom into this topic that I feel like so many people want to do this work but just have no idea where to start. Now they know. So thank you.
Start small, people. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, everybody, I hope you start small and begin your forgiveness journey today. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. If you want more resources on thriving in your life or want details on working with me, check out my website at internallyguidedleadership.com or follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at Internally Guided Coach. Be gentle with yourselves out there, and I'll talk to you next time.